Hey there guys, welcome to the first tutorial here on PopCultureCrafts. Using a little bit of model magic, some acrylic paint, and some twine, we're going to be making a Shadow Man Talisman from the Disney movie The Princess and the Frog in this video. Now to save a little time, instead of telling you all the materials that you're going to need in this video, just flat out, I'm going to list them all in the description box below in the order that you're going to need them. That'll make for an easy reference whenever you need to see what I'm using in the video. You can just check the description box and it'll save me the time of just going through all of them on camera here. And of course you'll be seeing these materials as I'm using them in the tutorial, but for easy reference, they're all in the description box. Now let's head down to the workstation and start working on the talisman here. Alright, so let's get started here. I've got my package of white model magic, and one 4-ounce bag will make approximately 4 talismans, maybe a little bit more than that, so it's a pretty good value. Here's my ball of model magic. I've rolled it out perfectly with my hands, and that's about the size that you want. And now we're going to set it down on the paper here, and we need to flatten it. Now in the description box I said that you need like a rolling pin. I'm actually going to use a cardboard poster tube for this, and I'm simply going to just start rolling the thing down. We're going to try to go for like this oval shape up here, so we need to keep, rolling it until we get to about roughly that shape. And we don't want it to be too thick. So once we get it to a pretty good thickness, we're actually going to peel it off the tube here, and we're going to go the rest of the way with just using our hands here. And you can kind of just stretch it out with your hands. That's roughly about the thickness that you want, and you can kind of just mold it into this oval shape on the top here. Don't worry about working too fast because it actually takes a while for this stuff to dry, so you don't need to work quickly. If you ever mess up, you can always just roll it back into a ball once again, and then you can just start from there. If it's not quite the shape you want it, you can kind of just keep molding it, or like I said, you can roll it back into a ball and totally start again. So that's going to look pretty good. It's not quite as rounded as I want it to be, but that's going to work for the tutorial. So I'm going to lay that down right there, and now we need to start making the trenches and the depressions in the model magic here. So for this I'm going to use the opposite end of my paintbrush here, and I'm simply going to do that straight line right in the center of the talisman first. That's kind of our guideline for doing all these other lines on the entire thing. So I'm going to start here on the bottom, and I'm just simply going to just start poking all these little holes in it. Model magic isn't like clay. You can't carve it at all. You kind of can just keep making these depressions in it. But bear in mind, once you make the depressions, you really can't get them out. You'd have to start all the way over again. So slow and steady wins the race when you're doing this. And you want to just keep doing this all the way up here. In a second I'm going to bring this closer to the camera, so if you guys want to pause the video on this image, and you guys can use that as your guideline when you're making the entire thing here. So this straight line all the way up to the top will be our guideline. And now I'll bring this up to the camera so you guys can pause the video right here and use this as your guideline when you are making all these different lines in your talisman here. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to start working on all these other lines on the entire image. So that's what it's going to look like after we have all the depressions in the model magic. Once again, don't forget the two little teeth down here at the bottom, and then all you can do is pretty much wait for this to dry, and then we can start painting it. It does take roughly a day depending on how thick you made it. One time I actually made one really thick and it actually took 2 days, so definitely wait for that to dry. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm actually going to start working on one that's been drying for about a day now, so that's nice and dry. So we're going to start working on this one for the rest of the tutorial. So I'll set that aside, and then we can start continuing on this one that's already dry. So now we're going to start painting it. So when it comes to paint, I'm using all acrylic paints here. You're going to need a beige, that's for these pieces down here. So you got the beige. You're going to need like a light brown color. You can also go with kind of like a reddish brown color for the different parts here, kind of like a maroon brown. So I've got the brown there. You could use a light yellow for the middle part here. The beige will look fine if you don't want to, buy a whole canister just for that part in the middle. So you can use the beige, but I'm going to be using a light yellow here. You're going to need black, and you'll notice that in both versions of the talisman there is black, so you'll need black either way. And if you are making the version of the talisman from the movie that has a few drops of blood in it, you're going to need the red for the middle of the trenches here. But I'm just going to be working on the middle one, on the regular one here, so I'm just going to be using black, so I won't use a red here. So now let's work on painting this entire thing and pretty much getting it to look like these two up here. So the first thing that I usually do is take a small paintbrush, and I usually paint the trench lines first, which in this case they'll be black. The eyes will also be black, so sometimes you can work on those first. So we're just going to start painting all these little lines black. And the key to remember here is that if you do mess up, don't worry, you can always repaint over it. A few coats of paint will usually clear up any problem that you had. to give you guys a little bit of an idea of exactly what I'm painting here, I'm going to show you this picture. This is kind of a cross section of what it looks like if you're looking at it from the side. Here's the surface of the talisman. You want to paint not only the bottom of the trench here, but also the sides of it as well. And of course, you want to do this for every trench. The only part that changes color here is the point where it reaches the top part of the talisman, and that will of course be brown or beige or yellow or any of the other colors. So once again, the bottom of the trench as well as the sides of it as well. And like I said, I work with the black here as the border lines first, and then we start working on all the other colors. So that's what it's going to look like once you have all the trenches and the eyes painted, and it really helps me to let an entire section dry before painting a new one. I'm kind of going to break my own rule here just to show you guys what I like to do next. I actually like to just put a little dot of paint on each section that has a different color, and that will allow me to make sure that I don't paint like the wrong section the wrong color, and I've done that before, so I'm trying to learn from my mistakes here. So I'm going to just put a dab of paint in all the sections that are going to be painted that color, and I'm just following the guidelines from these two up here. After that, I'm just going to work on just doing each of these a different color here. So for yellow, I'm going to do the inside here, and I'm also going to do these sides. And last but not least, I'm going to do the kind of the brown or the reddish brown here for the inside here. And this will, like I said, will just prevent me from painting the wrong color here. And I'll let all these little dots dry, and then I will start working on painting the entire thing, and it'll look pretty cool. So after about a half an hour of painting, your creation should really start to take shape here. It's probably going to take 1 or 2 coats of each color to really make it look good, and it's going to take a little while to fill in all the little designs and trying to make sure all the white parts are covered up. Since you're using white model magic, you should be able to see all the parts that haven't been painted like really easily, and that's one of the benefits of using white model magic. On the sides, I didn't actually poke in the sides, so those really aren't trenches on the sides, but I decided to just paint those in just so it makes it look like it's all the way around. I do the same thing with these up here. And the back, I usually just paint a solid just brown color. That's what I do on this one too. So it's pretty much just a solid beige color. Now what I need to do is attach a little eye to the back and throw some twine on there, and we'll have a complete talisman here. So let's do that step next. Okay, so what I did for this part was I drilled a small little hole in the back, and it's pretty much lined up with that straight line through the front of it here. And you're going to need a small little eye for this, like an eye screw. It's got a screw on one part, and then it has a loop for the back here. And what I'm going to do is use a little a little crazy glue for this. I did say in the description box that you could use hot glue, and that's one of the things you can use as well. It's a little bit easier to use a crazy glue because I don't have to worry about the hot glue gun on my station here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the eye and I'm going to insert it right in there. I put a little bit of glue in there already, and I'm just simply going to screw this all the way in. And the model magic is not hard enough that it'll prevent you from screwing this in, and you obviously want to go all the way in here until you get all the way to the end, and it should stop right about there. Obviously you want it to be up and down like that. Then what I'm going to do is take a little more crazy glue and kind of cover up the sides here, and that'll dry, and then we can throw the twine in there and we'll have a complete talisman. So I'm going to wait for that to dry right now. So once it's dry, we can take our twine here, and I just got this at my local craft store, nothing special about it, and we will tie a simple square knot here, left over right and right over left, and then that will effectively turn our talisman here into a necklace. And that's our last step. So I hope you guys like this video. I'm making a Shadow Man Talisman from the Disney movie The Princess and the Frog. You can make these in a variety of different colors. As you can tell, the yellow here is a little bit different than the yellow I used over here, but you can use any colors you want. Here's one I made a while back, kind of using like the neon colors and alternating there with the same pattern here. And just have fun with this. I can guarantee you that your first one will be a little bit off. This was the very first one that I made. As you can tell, it's really thick, and this was the second one I made. As you can tell, it's a lot thinner, and it's pretty much perfect in comparison. So you'll definitely get better over time as you make these. And like I said, hope you liked the video, and I'll catch you next time on the channel.